Hello, everybody. Woo!
Hi, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for coming. We're super happy.
Yeah, actually, it's like a little bit more people than we expected, but we are really, really happy to see all of these faces here. We are music video studio Princess Computer. We have been already more or less 5 years to work on some music video projects, and so far most of our clients were from South Korea. Like some of them were very popular and established musicians, but we are always also open for some talent, emerging young artists. So I will give you like very brief introduction of our team and separate introduction for ourselves. And then he will briefly saying what is this event about and then what will we talk about. So far we have done more or less like 10 music video projects, and then sometimes we also do some album cover projects. And I think I would introduce ourselves, our character, which is a little bit different from our other animation studio, is we don't make some images out of requests or like just make some images for specific asks, but we take it more art collaboration with musicians and as a visual artist. So before we start our project, we always say or introduce ourselves that we would love to have our own freedom to listen your music and then suggest how we want to interpret and bring the images to the screen. And so far we were working a lot with female young artists.
The exact opposite of today's music video.
Yes, this is a very interesting part, but it will come like later. So this is like the brief introduction of our team. And my name is Chusu. Nice to meet you, everybody. And some of them already I know. And I'm an artist, but at the same time, the founder and director of Princess Computer.
Thank you, Chusu. Hi, everyone. I don't know as many faces here, but I'm just as happy to see you all. My name is Lloyd Marquardt. I'm also part of Princess Computer since 2020. We started collaborating on projects, and I'm also a visual artist myself, personally. And I'm based in Stuttgart, so we are kind of like a almost virtual-based team. We don't meet for our projects. Mm-hmm. I will also talk a bit about that later, but yeah, and as far as our studio goes, my current role, like both of our roles are definitely, as you mentioned, you work mainly as the director now. We both work as 3D artists, and my new kind of role for this project was also being a pipeline manager. It feels a little too big to use that word, but
it's fit you. It's really fit you.
It's the bit general idea. And if you're wondering what a pipeline is, I'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, so of course, like this background of us both being visual artists is also kind of integral to our identity as a music video studio.
We actually planned that we don't want to give too many information first before we show the music video, because we also want to give you freedom to just feel
okay.
like... Yeah.
So you didn't want to say who he is?
I mean, some people already know.
Okay, okay, let's chill. Okay, so we, as Chuso said, we will show you the music video without further ado. After that, we will give you some insights into our, first of all, into the concept of the music video, and then also into our working process, which I kind of teased earlier. And at the end, you'll, of course, like you're actually able to ask us all the time, but we will make like an official Q&A time at the end. So yeah.
So, briefly saying, today we are showing our latest work.
Yes.
The title is Feeling of You. So here we go.
Let's go.
Thank you for focusing.
Thank you.
It was for us also very, very good experience to watch it again in the big screen because
Yeah.
normally we work with the computers. Yeah, so let me then finally give you some information. The title is Feeling of You, and then this song is by Cho Young Pil. This is also one of the South Korean musician, and actually he is like one of the most influential and popular musician in South Korea, and it was released last April, and this song is about trust your feeling and follow how you feel. This is like basically how the lyrics is about, and this guy is actually the musician. He is born 1950. So he's like 74 years old or 73, which is almost as old as South Korean history. And he started his music when he was 18 years old, and it was his 20th album now. And he was having 55 years of his music career through his life. Very, very significant and important person for Korean pop music.
You also told me he made the first music video in Korea.
Yeah,
no?
true. He's also one musician who did the first music video in South Korea.
I mean, obviously not this one, but like
Yeah, not this one. And also, of course, I don't know if this is important, but like he has still some records, like the most audience for his concert, or like even more than BTS and things like that. So whenever we show or talk about our latest work, which is Feeling of You, the first following question is how then we met him or how we worked with him. Once I just got an email from him that I also couldn't believe what's happening, because we also explained to you that mostly we were working with my generation musicians and who share some similar vibe with us. And I asked his label how he found me, and they explained me he was looking for one new type of music video director, and then they they showed 10 different music videos, and then he just picked our former work. And then he said like, it's cool, but also like it's a little bit too creepy for him. So it was fun.
we had a character in there that looked like a skinned chicken with
I mean, this one is pretty cute music video, but before we were a little bit more experimental and a little bit more creepy, uncanny style. So it was only thing that he asked, like, I would like to work with you, but like, please make it a little bit less creepy. So it was also very.
I thought it was super cute.
I also thought so. So it was like how we started to work with him. So for us, of course, like it was very luck. And in the very beginning, I was even considering if I could do good job, because his former music video is also completely something else. But then my friends also encouraged us very much that that's why he contacted you, that he also always finds his like experimental way of in the music way, but also music video, everything. So we decided to take the challenge. Yes, it was the story behind. Now I want to show you a little bit like then how we start the music video project when we get such a request or when we start. So first, they send us their music. Of course, it's not completely mixed or it's not completely mastered, but they also share like time to time what kind of development they are doing. And then we start to listen to music a lot. And also I start always research a lot about his history or her history, listen all of their music, and then somehow try to get to know like not only about this song, but the person. And then what kind of art concept we can bring for the specific music. For this case, I was also pretty surprised because I think some of you guys who didn't know who is the musician before couldn't imagine it's like 70 years old guy's voice. Like I was really impressed that he always keeps his innocence and purity and not to go too much of major way to bring his idea to through the music. So this time I just start to draw very childlike drawings that you also probably have seen already the front of the door. Like this, you know, I think here there are also a lot of artists. You guys always like, when we are young, we always draw something like sun and flowers and rainbows and mountains and people. This is somehow how I started while listening his music. So literally with hand drawing and watercolor, pencil. That's why it looked like the kind of little bit more childlike style. But it was not only because of his music sounds like innocent or like a little bit younger, but the main concept behind it, I took a concept from Lao Tzu, who is a Chinese philosopher. He was talking about 대교 약졸, one term, which could be translated that if one artist level is developed enough to the point, then it comes or it returns to the little bit more like simple style or a little bit like childlike style. So I was thinking it's like the great skill somehow appears even more like simpler. I will bring easy example to understand that. For example, when you think about Picasso, it's like it's not something like complicated or realistic, but you know, like above the level, then it could be more.
But you also didn't choose random animals. Like,
yeah,
it's not like the typical just because you drew it as a child. It's like
no,
has some meaning. Right?
I would. So this concept was like what's behind. And then I studied, of course, I also do all of this character design and who I want to bring. It could be also a little bit of a love story or like many friends or something like that. But of course, first I designed his avatar, but like not so similar. I didn't want to make some realistic avatar. I didn't mean it, but it looked like. Just one of the difficult things was he is not so fashion guy, so he doesn't have his like specific character through his appearance. So I just took his sunglasses and guitars, which he always wearing on, and some just my cute imagination, like it's really hidden, but like YPC, his spelling, piercings, and so on. So it was a little bit like combination of what he has and then my imagination. So I also draw this pine tree thing, and then him, and then in the end, it ended up like this kind of virtual avatar, but doesn't need to be like 100% him, but in this scenario. And the other two friends, which is one is tiger and one is bird. Actually, he has really, really many hit songs. Here also there are some Korean friends, like they probably know. One is exactly like leopard in the Kilimanjaro's mountain, which was like when he was like 20th or 30th, like he thought he's a lonely leopard in the Kilimanjaro mountain. And then this is like one of his biggest song. And then the other song, anybody else know? Can imagine? It's 못 찾겠다 꾀꼬리. Yeah, it's also one about one bird. So I thought if I anyway make an imaginary scenario, then I could bring his hit songs into one song and then make his like imaginary friends there. So this was how I made this three friends group. And then the design itself, I took the reference from South Korean folk painting style. So it was like from some hundreds years ago. Folk paintings means actually it is not for rich people or for king or something like that, but instead normal people were drawing them like things and then put into their room or their house because they believe that tiger and birds bring some good news to the home or to your family, but then also they get rid of some negative energy, things like that. And back then, of course, it was not, how can I say, it was not so good rated or
not so appreciated, maybe,
not
as
so
like fine art
yes,
or high
because
culture?
it's also not like so realistic or like very skillful. But when I look at it, like I think it's amazing style. It's like much more interesting than like realistic tiger or something like that. So I always wanted to work with this kind of style, and then this time I reference its own style. So we ended up with this design with like one tiger and then one bird. And the background is also from some Asian painting style, and which also shows very timeless and then also spaceless, that you like it's kind of above the cloud. So it's like disconnected with reality.
Is it kind of like a heaven kind of?
It's kind of
space?
heaven. It's
Or
called like Murungdoan, and then it was dealt a lot by artists or musicians or painters, poem, and so on. So I wanted to mix a little bit of this like tradition and new 3D technique into our work. So this was how the concept and the background story was developed from my side mostly. Of course, like while I develop, I always talk to my team and Lloyd. And then this is how these three friends were brought to our latest work. And before we make this 3D animation, like more or less of this with these drawings, then I also communicate very a lot with the musicians, like how do they think, and they always also give us their opinion. And then with this hand drawing, I think it also makes me very free to talk and then show my vision before we start to heavy part of our production. So that's why all the time I start to draw with my hands, and then over there you can see these original works. So this is a part of our exhibition.
You always say you need an iPad, but I think this is what saves you from insanity. Just this quick moment of doing something with your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I always like, I want iPad, but I never buy. And I call myself like Princess Computer, but I always throw my hands. So this was like brief things about concept, and then I hand over more like Lloyd parts.
I mean, it's still the part that we both worked on, but yes. I want to, and mine also, I want to talk about our process, because maybe like a lot of people ask about our process, and I think it's maybe not easy to imagine for people who don't work with 3D software a lot. So as we mentioned in the beginning, we are basically a virtual-based team. So we just meet, work together always through the computer. And the majority of our work is in the computer. And as you could tell, we work in 3D software. And there are just some screenshots of our process. We actually met at art school, and we both were working a lot with 3D software even before we met. So from the beginning, we kind of understood our struggles and what we're excited about.
You also do this thing and happy, and do you know this problem? Do you know this problem? Yes.
That's kind of the basis of our team. And but let's talk about what 3D software is for a quick moment. We use a software called Blender. Maybe many of you know it, but it's a 3D software that is open source. So that means it's open to anyone, and they're very passionate about democratizing the 3D industry. They play a huge role, and they're getting just bigger and bigger. And we were working with it from the beginning, and that's basically also what made our studio possible, because we fell in love with it. And in Blender, we do pretty much everything. We shape our characters, we model them, we sculpt them. So that means defining their forms. We texture them, we paint them, we decide how they should look and which. So it's materials, shape, and also lighting. And then the final component is kind of animation. And all these things we always worked together on.
So basically, you can imagine if you shoot a film or video, then everything you do, clothes design, lighting, setting up, camera, how many millimeters camera you want to set or focus, everything you also should do same in the 3D world. And this is basically how we always work.
Yes. You start with a gray cube if you make a new file and you have nothing. So that was also a huge factor in this music video, because we made everything from scratch ourselves. We, of course, it's also a very common route to go to buy some 3D models or maybe work them into your own stuff. But for this specific concept, which is very tied to this kind of naive, kind of handmade style, we really wanted to just put our own personal touch into everything and had a lot of fun, just maybe also misusing the program and model in ways that we shouldn't.
I think that's why we have our own style.
Yeah.
Instead copy and paste style from other.
Yeah, we weren't interested in that. Here you can see some of our early style explorations that basically defined the final look of the music video. We had this concept of jiggling clay to give a stop motion feeling and make things look like they're vibrating. So actually there is no animation on these, but they're just idling at
So this was also connected, I started to this kind of childlike drawing, then we also wanted to bring this childlike clay sculptures thing. That was how we started our concept in the 3D world.
And then on the right, you can see the most saturated colors possible on any monitor. Yeah, early avatar. But yeah. This came after the storyboard drawings immediately. And so we've talked about how we make things, but there's still the problem that we're apart. We're not in the same space. So we had to figure out how we go about stuff, who does what and where are files and everything like that. I think if you've ever collaborated with someone, you know the pains and struggles of working on the same file and then just overwriting it with what the other person has done. So we took the approach of building everything separately. You can imagine there is like a file for the bird, for the tiger, and for the avatar. And then in the end, we just reference these files into a scene file. So we had like 50 or how much was it? 55? 60? Yeah, something like that. And by scenes or shots, I mean different camera angles. If you just look at the music video, maybe it doesn't seem so complex, but actually thinking about every camera angle, you know, just imagine having that all in a timeline, in a file, and then if you ever want to change something around, it's like a lot of work. So we worked on making a single file for everything, for every shot. And the good thing about that the characters weren't in the file, was that we could just work on everything at the same time. So everything was evolving constantly. The avatar started out really basic, but we already built some scenes with it. And every time the avatar file changed, our scenes got more beautiful as well. And we were working like this before, but this was like, we really got it now. This was a great process. And so just the only way how we could manage this. And
maybe it was a little bit detailed talk, so I will give you to understand easier. So if you work alone, then it's fine to have just your file, like 50 files sometimes, but we work together. So if I design my one avatar and then he was building one scene already, but if I want to change or develop the avatar file, then we cannot change all of his thing. So this is how he also solved many problems as teamwork, how to link the files and program. It's a little bit detailed talk, so we don't need to go really deep, but it really made all process very efficient, and then even it was, of course, making the quality much higher than before.
Yeah, and everything went way quicker also. Everything being green wasn't the way it was at the beginning. Everything was gray and depressing. So this is it was actually 46 shots. These were our 46 shots that we worked on, and every shot has a separate task for storyboard, animation, lighting, rendering. And this software, you might think it's super, I don't know, it's gate-kept somehow, how did we get access to something like this? And the funny thing is the software is open source as well. So it's such a great feeling to be supported by software creators and that care about studios like us. And yeah, what we did there was we could basically just comment on every scene, and what we were doing, we were just going back and forth. So it was always like a ping pong. We started with a storyboard for every shot, and then we did a first rough animation, and those looked not beautiful, but we just needed it to get a general sense of everything that was happening. They were sometimes not even moving, it's just the camera doing one linear movement. But it made our life so much easier, and there's also some example shots for you to see. I brought two that stood out. So here on the left, you can see the storyboard version of that. And this was the first. And then something like that. And then another scene was this one, which started with a very minimalistic storyboard drawing. And then the final shot.
So basically, as a teamwork, it was really helping that he was going through, he was watching or researching how other professional animation studio works, like Pixar and then Blender Studio themselves. And then he brought us to this like amazing system. So it was really easy that I upload storyboard, for example, and the rough animation. Then we also make a commentary with each other very quick. And then now we just brought like simple example, only one like process 1, process 2, process 3. But of course,
there are some shots that have 18 versions.
18 versions and 20 versions, and then like developing.
So, yeah, of course, the... Don't worry, this is not a coding tutorial. This was just, like, because I was talking about pipeline before, like, this was just a simple example of, like, you know how, like, you might imagine the only way you can interact with the software is by clicking and dragging stuff, but actually a lot of software offers you, like, an API, which is, like, a way for you to connect to it with code. And so clicking a lot of buttons in, like, 46 scenes and making them all the same thing and going back if you ever decide to change some settings was just a lot of work. And the most difficult part where we had to do this was in the end. It's a process called rendering. You maybe know it from video editing also. But it's basically the process where all the models and animations are took and their lighting is calculated, they're rendered to 4K, blah, blah, blah. And Pixar, for example, has like 2,000 machines, I think I read, that are doing that for every movie. And we don't have 2,000 machines. So, I mean, that didn't change anything about the fact that it took a long time, but at least we could use this to make some basic settings. So it's basically not even as hard as it looks. It's just like set the resolution to that, just to 4K, and then make it 100%. And you just run that for everyone and every file, and you're happy. So here's our wall of fame of all our lovely render farms.
So basically, when Pixar has 2,000 render farms, we had only 5. 2. He has programmed to connect all of pieces we have, like in Berlin, in Stuttgart, in school, and then even in South Korea. Like we connected all pieces, and then they were working 24 hours. So even we were like sleeping, and then the pieces were working, and then it was also, of course, making 4K video possible in that very tight deadline.
That was it about the behind-the-scenes part. And now we get to the part where we talk about the reactions to the music video.
Yes, so after release, like we got really positive reactions or feedbacks, and we were having really happy time also too. Like we went through really, really hard time. Like while the production period, for example, like I turned off my phone completely and then I never went out. And then only thing I met was him just through video chat.
Only thing?
Only thing. Because you were existing only on computer, so I really felt so. And then like just like in the morning, wake up and then going to the computer directly and then just working on the computer, And then it was a little bit sad as a very extroverted person that I couldn't celebrate with the musician and the production parts like when it was released. But still, it's like we are living in the digital generation, so like by commentaries and by some messages from Korea, or like also here, of course, we celebrate ourselves with friends, and then now it's also one part of that. And wanted to bring here one fun part because here it's more or less like when we advertise our thing or our music or a thing that is mostly now social network service like Instagram or TikTok and so on, and then we realized that this other generation use another type of advertisement, and we were very surprised that after release our music video, our video was like all of the TVs in South Korea.
National broadcasts.
National news and so on, because they also made lots of advertisement, but not only advertisement. Today was the day that we wanted to also bring this positive vibe to Germany, where we actually are based. If you have any question or already, yes. Or even like commenters to just want to share together, then just feel free to.
First of all, thank you for the music video, all that explanations, amazing. I have actually two questions. One is, did any original design changed according to the client's request? I would assume working with a client is always not easy. That's my first question. Second thing is, one of the first scenes, and it seems the sun is sweating. Is that correct?
Sun is what?
Is the sun sweating? Yeah.
First one, of course, I answer, and the second one. First one, yes, there is a design which should have been changed by client's opinion. It was actually designed as leopard, not tiger first. And even you can see that my original drawing, it was not like the stripe thing, but more leopard. Yes, even we started to make a 3D with a leopard. And then he gave us a opinion, everything very good, he loved it, but somehow the song about leopard of him is biggest hit of his music career. So he didn't want to repeat it. He didn't want to make it even stronger, like I'm the leopard or something. So we, by agreement of both sides, we changed the stripe as more like a tiger way. But actually it was not 100% leopard. I already designed in between, but yes.
I think in the final one he also has stripes and circles, maybe some circles also, but very slight. Yeah, the dripping sun. Maybe I can pull up a picture. Yeah, sweating sun. I think it was more not really significant for the story development, but it was kind of our personal touch. So we in our personal work, we also really like to work with the uncanny and the tactility of 3D objects. And so our studio logo is actually also a sweating or melting computer. So this was really just a kind of a personal touch, and also a sweating sun is kind of funny, I guess. So yeah, that's.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Just wanted to ask, how many hours did you guys spend in Blender collectively?
The whole thing. We really don't know because but we can estimate maybe. So the total working time was 1 month or something, or a little over that. What do you think?
Normally we work more than 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
But this deadline was pretty tight, of also according to his concert schedule and everything. So it was a little bit more than 1 month. I would say 5 weeks, and we were working a lot. I got lost 5 kilograms because I didn't have time to eat for real.
And you even turned off your phone, which is something I didn't do, but maybe should have done. But we every night we were just obviously we had a lot of video calls and meetings, virtual meetings, and every night in the final hours of or final weeks, even days of the project at 2 a.m. we were texting and asking, do you think we can go to bed at 3 today? And the other person was no, I don't think it's possible. More 4 or 5. So I don't know, we just focused all our time on it. And I looking back at it, it seemed so surreal. But when we were in it, somehow it was just the most natural thing to do, I think. It's just so, yeah. Next time we will time track and tell you. Anyone else? Mm-hmm.
In the story, in my interpretation, or the way I perceives it, the characters separate to different worlds and kind of FaceTime each other. Is this something inspired by the song, or is it inspired by your friendship? And if the story continued, like if there was a part 2, what would you want? Where would you want it to go?
I think the part about us is coincidental. It's kind of like by chance, not the original reason behind it. The video call? Or you just tell.
The storyline is right, I had as you interpret it, and because in his lyrics it's also not about like your partner or friends, but or like it's more like trust your own feeling, and it's most important thing for your life. And somehow I felt it's also like from his experience, and also of course I have experienced that like you guys always start with your friends and family, but sometimes you have different goals, different dreams, and then different things that you want to follow. So they decide sometimes take the another ways, and then also you meet new friends or new colleagues there, but you never know if you will meet again or not. It was the basic story. And then the video chat part was, it is also my favorite scene, because as I said, like we made this a little bit like timeless and then also not specific space. But I always want to bring the like today thing to my work, because we were talking about, okay, this time what we could bring it that like as 2023, and then we are just got out of this pandemic, and then now many things are going on, just like video chat, and then even our team is based on almost like video chat meetings. So we figured it out how to like make it like small drop to this like timeless thing, but also 2023. So it was like video chat, and there were really many commentaries that some people were crying on this scene. So I think many people are related also emotionally with their personal situation.
Yeah. There's also a small detail if you ever watch it again on the phone, maybe look out. Never mind. Easter egg stuff. Anyone else?
Yeah, great video. Question, did anything about your process change after this video, or did you gain any new insight through working on this that you didn't have previously? Like, did you learn something new about yourself or your workflow that changed?
I mean, yeah, like definitely. I was kind of trying to convey it also through this technical bullshit, but I think like it didn't really come through. But what basically we really learned with this project is to just focus on our roles and what we are good at and enjoy doing. Because in the beginning of our collaboration, we basically did everything half-half. And so everything kind of took longer. So we were doing, for example, concept art together, a storyboard together. And obviously that led to some decisions, but also like some compromises that maybe could have been stronger if it was like one vision. And also not being in the same space is, I feel, kind of hard for stuff like that, like feeling each other's vibe with a certain direction. And so for this video, like what we showed might seem like very rigid or like very like micromanaging Excel type things, but it actually helped us in that we really divided everything up, have clear boundaries of what everyone's doing. And like we said, you were the director and the concept artist. We were both 3D artists, and then I worked on also the technical pipeline and stuff like that. But anything else? I think it was really the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and second question, the 3 characters, I think there's like a lot of character packed into each individual of them, even though it's just a like 3-minute music video, and some little particular things that, for example, the bird holding the phone with its leg, and or the cat when sliding down, it goes backwards, which it kind of reminds of like when a cat is like climbing and stuck somewhere, it doesn't know where to go, and it's like this. So can you maybe talk a bit about, it's like a bit unspecific question, but talk about how you develop these characters, or like what went into that?
I think we were not considering so much, but I think it was really instinctively came. And then, of course, we were talking like the bird is a little bit like stupid. I didn't want to say so, but he was convincing me. So he, like the bird actually doesn't know what's going on so much, and then even the bird can fly itself, but just it always like just on the top of the walking, or just like on the top of the tiger and chilling. And tiger is more like it's also could be influenced a lot by Asian old folk stories that it's sometimes really wholly existing animal, but sometimes also like very fun and friendly for us, because Korea was like once upon a time Korea was the nation of tiger. We had a lot of tigers in our mountain, and then that's why we had like a lot of paintings or poems about tigers. So somehow I think it was also naturally influenced by those things, I think, from my side. Yes, I think we get last question for like our time management, and he will tell a little bit about what's going on after this program. Then we will slowly finish our thing. So last chance to throw any.
What's next? What is the next project you're working on?
It's good question. Because we took out this part from our own presentation because maybe nobody's interested in. So far we didn't have yet specific project, but this is also one good story to share about our team character, because we got really many requests after this project, and like many artists, musicians emailed me, and then even I got an email from Korean cultural minister that he was so touched, and they asked us national animation for South Korea, and we were considering, or I was considering, sorry, but we denied the request very polite, because of course as an animation or like music video studio, it could be very big steps like in the business sense, but then we thought more it's time to develop our own style, and then to see where we want to go, not like only like productive system. So we are very considering what will be our next project. And
yeah, also because it takes so much time. Like this was 1 month, but it was too little actually. We would like more time, and it's not so easy to just dedicate a quarter of a year to something that we...
And we are very actively find next team members, and there are already people who we are contacting with, and then they are interested in us. And yes, it's really fun journey as an artist.
Before I ask, I meant to congratulate you. Thank you for sharing your work with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
And lastly, thank you here, everybody, that you took your time and then being here and share your time and energy with us very much. And